So after the lack of, YouTube continuously taking me 5 hours to upload a 20-minute video, let's just get on with the review. It's just been really tiresome today. I've just been busy all day. But I did get a chance to see the next movie in the MCU. So let's talk about Avengers: Age of Ultron. That was shitty, but it was still awesome. Um, so I had a lot of expectations for this movie, and so did everybody. I mean, it's the freaking Avengers for the first time since the first Avengers in 2012. So it's been 3 years since we've seen all the Avengers together. Like every once in a while, we saw like Steve Rogers, Captain America, and Black Widow teaming up in the Winter Soldier. We got introduced to the Guardians. Iron Man and Thor sequels sucked, so it's time to like just get Barry out the hatch. 2014 was a pretty dope ass year for the MCU. So 2015 had some pretty high expectations because not only were we finally getting the Avengers once again, but we were getting introduced to Ant-Man later down in the year. But I got a lot to say about Ant-Man when I get to it. So, this one, I gotta say, this movie is pretty divisive. A lot of people do not like this movie. A lot of people just think it's an alright movie. And, I was like hearing all these problems on my way before rewatching this movie, and actually this is one of my first reviews in my YouTube channel. I took down the video because I was starting all over with the MCU, and that video was pretty awful. It was just like a young me, like sick and just tired, and he lost his voice after like being blown away with the watching the old Age of Ultron. But I'll say this movie has a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Like, I didn't like how it made no sense for Iron Man to blow up all his suits, and then he comes back like whatever. So that just really ticked me off a lot. But it was pretty awesome to see the movie start right away with all the Avengers. They have group shots. It's just pretty awesome. The first set of dialogue was Iron Man going, "Oh shit, language." So there was that. So it starts off pretty strong. Basically, Hydra is using the scepter, Loki scepter, to make weapons, and that's how they created brother and sister Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. Which is funny because the following year they were in Godzilla as husband and wife. Now they're brother and sister in the MCU. But the thing with here is that basically they were pretty cool. I really enjoyed them, particularly Scarlet Witch. We got to kill Quicksilver and his epic moment, if you could call it that. But basically, the reason why Iron Man is really back in the suit right away is because it sets up the rest of the movie. He finds the scepter, he's about to take it, and Wanda, Scarlet Witch, she basically gets on the mind of Iron Man, and he basically gets the idea of creating Ultron, a robot field that's gonna help help the Earth like from any kinds of danger, like because he had a vision of all the Avengers being dead, which is a pretty cool scene, I could say. Like it was just really cool, like Iron Man having some sympathy for once. Then again, it does take you away the fact that he blew up all his suits in Iron Man 3, which is why I hate that movie so much. But yeah, let's move on with that. Basically, him and Banner start creating Ultron with the help of Jarvis, which unfortunately Jarvis dies after Ultron just goes crazy. And then here's where it gets completely weird. They have a party at the Avengers area, and it takes me away from it just because I was like, why are they having this party? It was cool to see the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was cool to see the other Avengers, like they had Don Cheadle and Anthony Mackie there. It was also pretty funny that they like make fun of the fact that their wives aren't there, their girlfriends aren't there. It was funny. Then some of them stay for a while, like Kobe Smulders from How I Met Your Mother, and Claudia Kim, who plays Dr. Helen Cho. This chick is hot as fuck. I'm not gonna lie, she's fucking fine as hell. But let's scrap that for a while. Let's talk about the rest of the movie. Basically, the Avengers stick around and they're basically trying to pull Thor's hammer, see who's worthy, and they tease Captain America slightly pulling Thor's hammer because he is like the more like leader type character out of the group, so it makes sense for him to slightly pick it up. So that was cool. Then they have like Ultron talking to them, and then a bunch of robots attack, and they all fight. That was great. Also, in the first fight when they had the Hulk, they had Scarlett Johansson or Black Widow. I keep calling her that, but Black Widow basically touches the Hulk, and Hulk basically turns human because he needs a love interest, which I actually didn't mind. I actually was cool with this. It made sense for the Hulk to have something to dehumanize him because I know that they couldn't get the chick from the girl from what's it called? Age of Ultron, not Age of Ultron, the Incredible Hulk. My apologies. They eventually get the Colonel back in Civil War, which we'll get to, but it was just fine. I really didn't care. I was cool with it. I really didn't hate this. It was a bit random, I'll say that, but I enjoyed it for the most part. It was cool to see Hulk being dehumanized. He's not the same anymore. So, but I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did. But basically, Captain America says we all have to stick together now and try to fight Ultron now. So that was cool. Basically, and here's my problem with this movie. Ultron fucking sucks in this movie. He fucking sucks. Ultron is supposed to be some super menacing dude that will kill everybody. It's supposed to be a dark movie. You could have your jokes, but keep that with the Avengers. Don't make the villain some fucking jokey dumbass. And also another thing that really ticked me off about Ultron, he's supposed to turn against all humans. He's supposed to turn against all humans and basically make sure we made a world just full of robots. So it makes no sense for Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch to team up with him. It makes sense for him to create Vision, but if anything, I would have just made Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch prisoners, and then Scarlet Witch has a vision of what Ultron is set to do, and then because they don't trust her, they would have helped out throughout the movie. But since they didn't do that, it really does take off some points for this movie because it just makes no fucking sense for Ultron to be teaming up with people. Then he meets up with Claw, who was the main villain from one of the main villains from Black Panther and the Circus, cuts his hand off, which explains that doll hand that he has in the Black Panther movie. But yeah, for the most part, it's a rough start. It is a really, really rough start for this movie. But once we get into the action, once we get to know what these characters are all about, that is when the movie picks up. Because once we hit that, everything is just great and mwah. Everything is just perfectly set up. And I know people are going to say it's similar to the first Avengers, which it's kind of hard not to do that with as all the Avengers that they got. They're probably going to do something similar in Infinity War, so I'm just saying, don't complain when that happens there. But yeah, also we had that scene of Quicksilver grabbing Thor's hammer, but he's knocked out for a while. Quicksilver, I'll get to him when I get to all the characters, but eventually Scarlet Witch gets into everybody's minds except Hawkeye's after he electrocutes her with a freaking bow and arrow, and that's when they run away and they mind control the Hulk, which leads to Hulk and Hulkbuster, which I'll get to. But it was cool, Hawkeye, he's yeah, I'm not doing that again, fuck that. And it makes sense because now he's in charge. Basically, Hawkeye has time to redeem himself and be one of the more important Avengers. And that was cool. And again, when I get to the rest of the characters, it'll get better. But basically, we have all these visions from all the Avengers. They have Captain America and a dance with Peggy Carter. We have the origin story of Black Widow, which if we get her movie, I'm pretty sure this is gonna come to play if we end up having her movie. Then we had Thor's vision, which was gonna be the cause of Ragnarok. And I could tell that Ragnarok was supposed to be something different instead of what Taika Waititi did. So I don't know. Yeah, I could tell they had a different vision for that movie, but they ended up scrapping it and doing a much better movie than what we got. Because I don't know. I'm pretty sure this movie would have been badass. It's just that we needed a change with Thor, and we really did. It really wasn't working out. But then we have after Iron Man destroys Ultron, but keep in mind we have multiple Ultrons anyways. But anyways, we have Hulk versus Hulkbuster in Wakanda. And this was awesome. I'm sorry, I had hiccups, so I'm sorry. But yeah, Hulk versus Hulkbuster, badass scene, awesome scene. This is one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen. It was nice. It was pretty funny too, like when after Iron Man completely fucks up the Hulk, Hulk just he I'm sorry, and then they fight again. And then once you think Hulk wins, he sees all the people just looking at him as a monster, and you can tell Banner just hates it, and that was a touching scene. That's what I really like about this movie, is that we get more in depth with the characters, which is easily the best part of this entire film. But I remember when Hulk was just looking at all those sad faces. He looks at all the people with the guns. He goes crazy, but then Stark knocks him out, and they're basically gone for a while. They're in hideout, they go to Hawkeye's home. They go to meet his wife and kids. And in the comics, Hawkeye was always the comic relief. He was always the Spider-Man or the Flash in DC. So it was it was cool. If you're going to do something with Hawkeye, might as well do this. And basically, in this movie, Hawkeye is yeah, these guys don't need me. I don't know why all I do is shoot bow and arrows. You got all these gods. You got your Iron Man. You got these super soldiers. Why? There's really no point in me needing me. And this is when Linda Cardellini, I keep forgetting her name, basically Daphne from Scooby-Doo, or Velma, whichever one, who cares. Anyway, this is when she has her breakout scene, so yeah, I think they do need you, and I think it's sad, but I think that they really do need you. And that's when I talk about the Hawkeye scene with her and Scarlet Witch, that's when I realized that how important Hawkeye is, and that's why why Hawkeye is really important. And this is why, honestly, people want to see Hawkeye in Infinity War. This is why people keep asking, where's Hawkeye? Where's Hawkeye? Because we're all curious to see what he can bring to the team and why exactly do they need him. And that's when it's going to be even bigger if Hawkeye appears in Avengers Infinity War. From what I hear, he is, but I don't know. They're basically building him up like Luke Skywalker in the Force Awakens trailers. Where's Luke? Where's Luke? It's basically the same thing, but it's really cool because now I can see why people are really loving this Hawkeye character. Thor is pretty pointless for a while. Basically, all he does is set up his movie plus the Infinity War. He had a vision, so he goes and discovers it with Dr. Selvig. Thor was pretty pointless in this entire movie. If you think about it, if they cut him off this movie, people would be complaining where's Thor? He's one of the originals, but really, you kind of didn't need him as much as we thought we did, other than he's one of the more powerful Avengers other than the Hulk. So, I don't know. If anything, they would have had a dramatic scene with the Hulk coming back, and that would have been even cooler, but, I'm cool with it. Thor basically just sets up his movie, and then, while he's gone, Rogers and Stark have their issue, where's Thor? He's well, I don't know. My team doesn't tell me everything I'm supposed to know. I'm used to it when you created Ultron. And basically, they're arguing over what the hell? I was supposed to make Ultron and this and that. And yeah, basically they're having an argument, and it's just it's a setup for this. and it was cool. I like it that these guys are slowly dividing up each other, because that's what Ultron does. After Iron Man created him, he's supposed to. Now we're supposed to like feel like, damn, Rogers is right, and it was great. Then that's when Nick Fury has a speech with Downey Jr., and then they all set up a plan, and they realize that it's now time to fight. Now, excuse me, I gotta pause this video because I'm running out of batteries. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. I might have to pause it again just because I keep getting messages from friends, which is fucking annoying at one point. But anyways, I was basically talking about how Nick Fury gives Stark his speech, and basically, honestly, Fury was pretty pointless too in this movie. So, this movie has its problems, but once you're like hooked in, you're still hooked in, and this movie does work for what it is. Yeah, like I said, some of the character developments were pretty dope. And also, again, the Scarlet Witch Hulk thing does work for me. He basically talks about how he hates being treated like crap, and he's being seen as a monster, and that was great. And so basically, they stop Ultron from getting his big robot that he's trying to create, which is of course Vision. And they used the scepter, which had the Mind Stone, I believe, the Yellowstone, I call it. As he's trying to create this robot, both Quicksilver and freaking the witch. Fuck, blanking out on the name. Sorry, Scarlet Witch. They basically turn on Ultron, basically realizing that what they've been doing is wrong, which is good. And that's when them two and Captain America team up and they talk out, and then that's when they go back to the Avengers initiative in New York. They're arguing over why are they doing this and how they shouldn't do it and this and that. And that's when we have Thor come back, and he finishes off what Iron Man's plan was, which is to create the Vision. So he turns him, and basically Vision is now born, and he's voiced by Jarvis, same as Paul Bettany. So we have that. Vision is basically after he was supposed to be for Ultron, but he turns out to be with the Avengers because it is Stark's vision, no pun intended, or Stark's creation. So that's when they all team up. Captain America's like, we got 3 minutes, let's go. They go to Sokovia, they fight, basically where they found the scepter the first time in the beginning of the movie. They have their big battle at the end, Ultron versus all the robots. We have War Machine come in out of nowhere, out of the blues. He helps out with the Avengers. Falcon's too busy fighting the Ant-Man, but we'll get to that movie. So yeah, this happens. We got we have some cool moments. Also Black Widow gets kidnapped, so that's when the Hulk rescues Black Widow, and then Black Widow's like, yeah, let's go back and fight. He's like, no, I'm tired of fighting, and let's just leave. Let's just leave them behind. Let's just do it. And it would have been a cool concept to do. And it could have gone both ways. He could have turned into the Hulk, or they could have actually gone all the way with this. And instead, what they did, they kissed, and then she's like, I need you, but I need the other guy first. So she throws him on the hole, and Hulk is born. He's created, and they all basically fight. We have our cool battle. Is that the best you can do? And then he brings an army, and Captain Rogers like, you have to ask. And it was but basically Ultron, there's like so many versions of Ultron, so much going on, and I'm saying to myself, somebody is gonna die. And after Hawkeye's speech with Scarlet Witch, I'm pretty sure he's gonna die, because Scarlet Witch is all scared, and she's like, I'm scared, this is all my fault. And Hawkeye's like, yeah, it's all your fault, but guess what? It's your fault, it's our fault, it's everybody's fault. Who cares? What matters now is that we're in danger. None of this makes sense. So you could either stay in here and let your brother pick you up later, or you could come out and fight with us. But know when you fight, you are an Avenger. And that's when I respected Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner. And this is when he went to a bigger career after this, because he's just been on a roll with some of his movies. Some hits, some misses, but who cares? But anyways, this is a cool fight. We get it, all our moments. And then when we think Hawkeye was going to die, Quicksilver saves his life. And Quicksilver dies because X-Men still has the rights for these guys. And that's when Scarlet Witch loses it and kills a shit ton of robots. This was awesome for Scarlet Witch. Not Quicksilver, we really didn't give a shit about him, but Scarlet Witch is like the shit, no pun intended. But yeah, after all the robots are killed, the world is saved. There's one more robot left, and that one is with Vision. Ultron's creation, but eventually Stark's creation. They basically talk about how one's right, one's wrong, and it just shows Vision's sympathy. And then that's when Ultron was about to attack, and Vision just kills him in one shot. The last creation, that was it for the Avengers. Hulk is in a ship somewhere, and Scarlet Witch is like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to do me a favor. You're gonna have to turn the ship around and this." And then that's when the Hulk hates being a monster. Banner hates being a monster, so he basically shut down that and took off. And we don't see him until Thor Ragnarok, which makes sense. So there was that. And basically everything's back to normal. Thor goes back to Asgard. Iron Man goes back to doing his things, and then the scene ends with Rogers and Johansson basically setting up the new Avengers. We have Scarlet Witch, War Machine, Falcon, and Vision. It's a good thing to show that the universe is expanding. They're actually using their minor characters and making them bigger characters. And it was awesome. Captain America at the end. Avengers. Cut. He was going to say Avengers Assemble, but he didn't. We're probably going to get it at Infinity War. But, yeah, that was awesome. And, yeah, that was the end of the movie. The cool ending graphics, like showing all the names of who was in the movie. It was cool when they had like a statue of like the whole battle. Overall, this movie was a ton of fun. I had a blast with this movie. I see its problems. I definitely agree with some of the stuff. But people are going way too harsh with this movie. Saying that this is one of the worst sequels of all time is a bit pushing it. But I'll say this. The movie is amazing. But it's a hard wait. It's a hard start. It's kind of like Ronda Rousey's debut to WWE. It was starting off pretty rough. We were lowering our expectations, and by the time we get to the good stuff, the match, we are hooked and we are in, and it was awesome. And yeah, this is definitely going to go down as one of the best in the MCU for me. I know a lot of people don't say that a lot, but I think it is pretty much. And the end credit scene of Thanos coming out, like, fine, I'll do it myself. That was great. I wish they teased Spider-Man. I really wish they teased Spider-Man, because especially after the way they bring in him in Civil War, which I'll get to. But yeah, I was really digging this movie. It's definitely one of the best. It's like an A- to me. It's like a really low A. It's not A+ like the first one, but this is a pretty low A-. But it's still a blast to watch, and it's one of my favorites to go back and watch. Anyways, that'll be it. Next up is Ant-Man, so stay tuned for that. It's me, the ALE XX Prince. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and until then, I'm out.